Good morning. Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center of Woodstock. We're so thrilled that you're here. It is a wonderful day, a new beginning. Each moment that we choose to breathe into, to live into, we get to create our experience of. And it's the possibilities are endless, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah. I'm Marypatriece Raupp. I'll get this out of the way now because you always tease me about this. I'm the spiritual leader here.
And I'm Reverend Tom. It's just a joy to be with you here today at Unity Spiritual Center of Woodstock in the company of 9 other individuals per the Phase 2 regulations. So we're just glad to be here today.
Absolutely. So grateful that today we get to have Ken with us to join us with the music. We're expanding, we're growing, we're becoming more of who we have always been and who we're coming into more of now, right?
You bet we are, absolutely.
So grateful. Let's start with a prayer.
Okay.
How about that?
Please do. Thank you.
Let's take a deep breath. This moment is the moment that I breathe into. With my heart, with my feelings, with my life, I open myself to new experiences of all I can be. I open into the idea that I can fly with the good that's in me, with the good that is all around me as I become one with it. Thank you, God, for everyone that is here, for all that have made it their mission to create these moments, to make them special, make them unique, and make them willing and able to bring about new thoughts, new ways of being, new ways of living that make it so much better than it ever was. I'm so grateful for each and every person, each and every idea and dream that has manifested this moment. I'm so grateful for the power to manifest more and the power to choose what is more for me. And so it is. Thank you, God. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So would you like to join me in doing the 5 principles?
I would love to do that. Shall we start?
Shall we start? Let's go.
There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good omnipotence. The Christ Spirit lives within me. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. I experience God's presence and power through prayer and meditation. I put my faith into action by demonstration.
Mm-hmm. You want to do it? Tell us a little bit about Unity this week?
Well, let's see. We say we are more spiritual than religious. That means that when I think of spirituality, I think of the presence and power that created all of this and continues to create everything by whatever name we refer to it. Is around us, but it's also within us. That power is within us. We talked last week that we are to that power by whatever name you call it, as a wave is to the ocean. So we're an expression of that power, and we're part of it. We're not God, but we are an expression of God. And so that's what we mean by being spiritual. Whereas when I think of religions, I think of more of the power being outside of the individual, and that power influence and almost applying its power to us in specific ways that are consistent with the doctrine of the religion. So I'd say our way is to give us more spiritual freedom as to who we want to be and to determine what's right for us in our life and the path we want to take. Mm-hmm. How does that sound good?
It does sound good, and it means that we can be spiritual no matter what path we choose, what belief path we choose. Mm-hmm. We can choose to be spiritual in whatever moment we're feeling that or we're focusing on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I would say if being a religionist of a certain faith really works for you, I'd say God bless. Keep it up. And volunteer at your church and do what you need to do, mm-hmm. Because that's the power of spirit in you being alive and well and active.
So today, as you join us and you move through this experience with us, if there's any part of you that feels moved to contribute to Unity Spiritual Center of Woodstock, please go to our website, to the Joy of Giving tab at unitywoodstock.org. You'll find a donate button to help support what we do here and help us keep moving in this direction. So I'm so grateful. You know, we have this fabulous musician here. I want to hear more. Ken, would you mind doing a little more for us this morning?
Not at all.
That would be fabulous.
Thank you. This is a song I wrote about stepping into our innocence. It's called Sweet Colleen. Sweet Colleen, my sweet Colleen, calling you to me, and gaze so deep as I wake from this sleep, beside I see my day begins the way that it ends, dreaming of your smile. Day turns to night, then in sleep I'm still calling you. Won't you come over and visit a while? Sweet Colleen, my sweet Colleen, I'm calling you to me, and gaze so deep as I wake from this sleep, be the sight I see. And in the meantime, I stare out my window and dream of stepping outside of my shadow, softer than the nest of a wren. Make a nest for me in your sweet heart. How can you go on when this love is simple and free? Sweet Colleen, my sweet Colleen, calling you to me, and gaze so deep as I wake from this sleep, be the sight I see. And in the meantime, I stare out my window and dream of stepping outside of my shadow. La la la, la 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 la.
really glad you're back with us. It's been,
Absolutely.
we've missed you.
I've missed you. Thank you.
So, I have a question for you.
For me?
Yeah, for you.
Okay, what's the question?
Are you an egg?
I have a question for you.
Oh,
Are you a fledgling?
you didn't answer my question.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I answered your question with a question.
Well, I have another question. Are you an eagle?
Am I an eagle?
Yeah.
I don't know. What can you say about that?
So our weekly course in the Quest asks these very questions regarding our personality and our individuality, and our talk title today is What Am I? What am I? While the yolk inside an egg, an eagle's egg, has all the possibilities of what we can be, our shells, which are our hardened, outdated attitudes and behaviors, they imprison our potential.
And that's why the chick has to break out of that shell. Okay. And eggs can't fly, but eagles can. And the way I become an eagle, to answer your question that you first asked me, is to break through that shell by releasing and breaking through old habits, old patterns, my history, anything that limits my growth, because those are the shells that keep that potential inside me locked in. And that would include breaking through the names I've placed on myself, anything I say after I am, some of which serve me, but some of which don't. And then once I've broken through the shell, I grow then from that fledgling to the eagle. And I grow to be an eagle by selecting my support system, which would be our church, my friends, by carefully examining who I have in my life, and by gaining knowledge and experience, by growing and by remembering that yoke, the essence of who I am. And also by demonstrating a willingness to allow my Christ-centeredness in the way my yoke to guide my life, instead of my life guiding my spirituality.
Yet, there may be times where we invite in new experiences into our life. There may be times we reach out and try something different. And even in those moments, we may be tempted to connect them to past events. For instance, maybe I want to take that new Zentangle class with Marypatriece. Maybe I want to explore my creative side, but I'm thinking about that art teacher that really kind of let me know when I was younger that I couldn't draw. And so I'm actually limiting myself. I'm actually bringing back the past, and I maybe begin playing those old tapes so that I might not be open to this new experience. So I might start rebuilding that shell again.
And you mentioned the quest earlier, because it states in the quest, the concept of what I am is the unconscious trigger of every action in my daily life. I have a story for you. Do you?
I do. So, I think about how is this showing up in my life? And because sometimes things show up in my life that could be from the past, and I'm not aware of them. And I was thinking about this talk, and I thought, pet peeves might be something, or something that I feel really strongly about. And I have to tell you, there's one thing I do feel strongly about, is the amount of floss that I use to floss my teeth. Now, when I was a kid, I used the smallest piece of floss to do that. And when it gets wet, you know what happens, it gets slippery, and it's not even doing what it's supposed to be doing. So I've graduated now as an adult to where I unravel enough that it will stick to my fingers and stay there.
Good.
But the truth is, I gotta tell you, this guy, the amount of floss he uses could line a fishing pole. You could actually catch a fish with it. I don't know how that happens, but I watch him every time, and I think to myself, ooh, that's way too much floss. You're using more than you need, but of course.
Well, let me reel you in, since we're talking about fishing. Seems to me you also have a concept on whether one should floss or brush first.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it seems to be a pet peeve of yours that I do it, what in my
I have
mind is
to-
the correct way.
Yeah, I have to re-instruct you every time.
And so, other than that, I think we're doing all right. But what that shows is that sometimes, every now and then, we'll allow outer circumstances to guide our Christ-centeredness. And sometimes you're a little more judgmental of me than you might want to be.
What?
Got that in.
I don't know about that.
So, and kind of along those lines, you and I recently realized that sometimes as a result of like hurt feelings or disappointment or frustrations, that past programming, just like with your floss, only more deeper sometime, influences us to kind of shut down or to go apart from each other. And in our minds at that time, because it's who we think we are and what we think we are, we do it to protect ourselves. Because we believe ourselves to be kind of vulnerable and could be hurt. So instead of being vulnerable, and instead of letting the Christ consciousness drive our conversations and our relationship, we withdraw and we break down instead of trying to integrate our perspectives in a healthy way.
Yeah, we start isolating and we, again, retreat back into that shell, right?
Because I remember we were creating a talk, this was a week or two ago, and we were walking at the Hollows, which is a beautiful conservation area near here. And I got this font of ideas.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I just, we could say this and we can say that. And I'd say, we could say that, this right. But before she could answer, I'd go on to the next idea. I mean, I was really flowing. I was in my
Yeah.
creative zone.
It wasn't a font, it was a geyser.
It was a geyser.
It was a
okay.
geyser.
But I was really in it. And Marypatriece says, hold on. I'm not with you there. I'm not there yet. And what that did was, again, old influences, it reminded me when I was a kid, my folks would say, don't get so excited. Calm down, don't get so excited. And the experience was like having my knees cut out from me, because here I was just so going, and she says, oh no, slow down, wait. So I started to withdraw. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. And for me, it was like, wait, I haven't even absorbed the first idea you had, and you've just gone down 5 miles down the road. So I wondered, like, this is supposed to be a partnership. My internal tapes were playing. This is supposed to be a partnership. Who am I in this moment? What is it that what's my part in this partnership? And I felt left behind. I really did. I felt like as a kid, I'm 1 of 9, that I got left behind. And I was experiencing the feelings of that all over again.
Yeah. I think we need to say we're seeing something here that says there's a problem with the video, so I don't know for sure if people are hearing us or they're hearing us and not seeing us. So we're going to hope that they're still hearing us, and we'll just go on as though they are. So, okay. So we're hearing folks have their iPhones here, and we are still being heard. So good to hear. So anyway, that's a good example, I think, of a shell reemerging almost, that and then us crawling back into the shell.
Yeah, because I wasn't ready to talk about it. I wasn't ready. I'm like, I'm just going to step back and go into my little isolation booth, because I'm not feeling validated here. I'm not feeling like I have any importance to this process, and so I'm going to do what it takes to protect me and that feeling of being important. So sometimes when we're triggered, we reconstruct our shell to protect ourselves and transform that fledgling that just came out back into the egg. And so sometimes, unlike the fledgling who can't return to the egg when we're feeling vulnerable or when it's feeling vulnerable or unpredictable, we find ways to crawl back in.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
And instead, we could be attempting more healthy and productive ways. So that's what we're working on, right?
Absolutely.
Our emotions, like a newborn eaglet, are moist and raw and subject to all the elements and seemingly beyond our control. So we seek to find that safety in the shell.
Yeah, and I think becoming an eagle for me means relying on trusting myself, that I'll have the confidence to expose those parts of me that maybe one time in my life were private and personal. How about you?
Sometimes I might say, even like when I hear myself say, well, this is just who I am, or this is what I do, I look at that as a signal to investigate more closely. Is this something truly of what I am, or is it a pattern that I've adopted?
So is it your essence or your personality?
That's right.
Yeah. And it reminds me, I was recently working with a new coaching client, and he was alluding to, he was saying, I had some times for a while there, things weren't going well, and I reverted to drugs and alcohol to get me through them. And then when I did get a job, he says, I worked too hard, there was no balance in my life. And then he said, but that's what my family does. And I didn't say anything to him then, but I would say to anybody who thinks that way, we have choices. Our family systems are imprinted in our spiritual and emotional culture for sure. Even though we have choices every time as to how we respond and we react to something. So while my essence never changes, the yoke is there and the spirit is still here. Because spiritually, I'm an eagle. I'm always an eagle spiritually, but my personality changes from time to time depending on what I'm going through and my circumstances. And I need to ask myself, what am I becoming almost consistently? So, for instance, I can say, well, I'm a child of God. We say that in unity. But how I express that idea matters. And you can say a rock is a child of God because a rock is created by God, created by Spirit. But the rock just sits there. Now, I know it's a perfect rock. It's not supposed to do more than that. But it just sits there. So my personality, my expression of divinity defines how I impact the world. I can be like a rock in terms of just sitting there not doing anything. I can be a rock where I'm solid and someone you can depend on, or I can be very expressive to a fault almost at times. Am I an egg those times? Am I an eagle? And those are the questions I need to continually ask myself. And sometimes I think our personalities are influenced by our inner guidance, hopefully, but sometimes by experiences outside ourselves, and some positive experiences outside ourselves that we would want to influence us would be unity, maybe a 12-step program or some other kind of support group.
Absolutely. And sometimes you might have an internal shift or an internal inspiration that causes you to take a new path. For instance, we talk about Wayne Dyer and how he was an alcoholic, and he was overweight, and his life was not in a place that he felt good about. In fact, he was so angry, he had so much anger locked up inside concerning his dad, that he went in search of him and came to find out that his dad had passed away 10 years before. So he went to the cemetery to visit his gravesite to actually go and pee on his gravesite. And when he went and he stood there, a shift happened for him. There was some understanding that came in that caused him to say, I want to change. I want to let go of this. I want to move past this. So he never came into that intention, but he did turn a corner to create a different life. And he became a very prolific writer and speaker.
Yeah, it reminds me, it's a good example of Tony Robbins' quote. He says, human beings absolutely follow through on who they think they are. So when he thought he was angry and vengeful regarding his dad, he acted on that, and then he had that kind of that epiphany, that transformation. He acted on being forgiving, because that's who he saw himself as.
So what is our goal in figuring out what I am? What good does it do? Is it to create an awareness of who I am? Is it to validate who I am? My goal is to become an eagle in every area of my life. And yet, I can look at my life and say, I'm not an eagle in every place, but I'm working towards it. I know when I'm here with people that I love and feel supported by, and I feel comfortable in expressing to, I am this person. I know when I go to my daily life during the week as a teacher, I may not be as invested or as expressive in my ideas or my insights. And I need to work on that, because my expression should be the same or consistent in every area of my life. So what I am, or what am I when I'm in the company of others? What am I when I'm alone? Are they the same? Do they change? And if I change, at what point do I decide to bring that person into relationship with others?
You know, for me, I'm typically asking myself, is this where I want to be? Is this who I really am? And wow, it's so easy to be influenced off of that, because even today we're trying a new setup. We're doing something a little differently. We have people with us here today, and prior to this, it was just us two Zooming. There was this thing in me that I was wondering how it would go, and it's like, for goodness sakes. And I think I crawl back into the shell a little bit, worrying and concerned. I know better than that. So let's ask everybody out there, whether you're here with us or watching online, as you reflect on your life, what are you? And where in your life are you an egg with your potential just wanting to come out and just express? And where are you an eagle, where you're already flying and soaring and open and feeling confident and evolving to embrace new opportunities?
What you are is the unconscious trigger of every action in your daily life. In closing, let's all be eagles, spiraling upwards on the warm current of spiritual awakening.
And so it is.
And so it is. Ken?
When I was a boy each week, Sunday we would go to church, pay attention to the priest. They would read the holy word, consecrate a holy bread. Everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad, miracles don't happen still. Now I can't keep track, everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine, water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but find it where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it could barely wet my fingertips. Now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in the sea. It used to be a world half there, heaven second rate, handed down. But now I walk it with a reverent air. Everything is holy now. See, question in child's face, say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. Breathe, another new morning comes. I'll tell you that it can be done. This morning outside I stood, saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture book. Made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second rate, hand me down. But now I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
Oh, it just feels really good. Thank you for creating that. That was awesome. So good to be together, even if it's just a handful of us. We know that we're growing and we're expanding, and we'll continue to add more of us back in with time, and even new people to come and join us. I'm excited. I'm excited about the future. I see it bright, and I see it full and amazing.
We're going to be flying like eagles very shortly.
Absolutely. I agree. So remember to join us today. Following this recording, we'll have a Zoom meeting to continue talking about ways to become eagles and leave our shells behind. And we're excited. So thank you for your time, and thank you for being with us and sharing this moment. We know time is very valuable, and where you spend it either lifts you or it puts that shell in place, you know, and we want to see your shell kind of come apart, crack a little bit. Would you say?
Absolutely.
All right, so are we ready to end?
We are. So shall we end with a prayer for protection?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ready?
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
And so it is.
Have a great Sunday.
Take care.